Good day, everyone. The title of my presentation for today is Locating Palhi in Bantoanon Culture. I am Patrick Aldrin Ocampo, currently an undergraduate student taking BA Anthropology in the University of the Philippines, Diliman. My research interests revolve around the study of space and how humans attach meanings to different spaces. So these include different folklore related to different places. What initially got me interested in this area of study was my first ever fieldwork when we conducted our anthropology field school in Banton Island, Romblon last July to August 2023. That was where I first encountered the Bantoanon concept of Palhi. In the most general sense, Palhi is defined as an enchanted place or a place where enchanted spirits live. Back then, I already found the concept interesting, but it was still a few months after concluding our field school when I decided to actually pursue studying the concept of Palhi. Most of my data here came from online in-depth interviews with Bantoanons. I also referred to my field notes from my past fieldwork and some Bantoanon literature to enrich my analysis. To provide a brief background about Banton, Banton is the northernmost island of the Romblon archipelago. It's known for its rugged and rocky terrain, making it mostly unsuitable for agriculture. The primary language spoken in Banton is Asi, also known as Bantoanon. Asi is also spoken in some other parts of Banton's neighboring islands, Simara, Sibale, and Tablas. Asi is an interesting language since it seems to have developed independently from other languages in Romblon. Unlike the other languages like Ini and Onhan, Asi is not part of other subgroups of Visayan languages. In tracing Palhi's linguistic history, we can look at Blust and Trussell's comparative Austronesian dictionary. Here, Asi is not included, but Palhi cognates from other languages were cited. The proto-form of Palhi and its cognates is Palisi, which means taboo, ritual restriction, or purifying rite. This denotes a more general or abstract concept of taboo or ritual that is not yet necessarily tied to place. However, its descendants in contemporary languages in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Taiwan, which can be seen here, exhibit a more varied range of meanings, including taboos, rituals, and praying. Palhi thus appears to be a development unique only to the Philippines, and although unclear as to why, it's interesting how only the Aklanon, Cebuano, and Asi Palhi branched out into place-based meanings. Overall, the widespread distribution and use of Palisi reflexes across Southeast Asia suggests the importance of taboos, regardless if it refers to actions or places, in establishing social order in Austronesian speaking cultures. We can also glean from the different meanings listed that the belief in superstitions and the supernatural plays a crucial role in enforcing social control and perhaps even organizing worldviews among these languages. As established, Palhi denotes an enchanted place inhabited by spirits. Although a lot of Bantoanons are Christian as a result of Spanish colonization, many of them still subscribe to indigenous animist beliefs in a syncretic combination of Christian and folk religion. Thus, they still believe that other unseen entities coexist with humans in the world. Their common umbrella terms for these spirits are encanto, which is also a word used in other Philippine languages, and tawo. It's important to note that tawo is different from the Asi word tao. Tao pertains to us human beings, while tawo pertains to non-humans or more than human beings. Oftentimes, these tawo are invisible, thus, humans must tread palhi areas cautiously to avoid disturbing them. However, tawo can occasionally manifest themselves to humans. The picture here, which is the cover of an Asi book based on different mythological beings from Bantoanon folklore, shows what the different beings may look like. Although most tawo are not necessarily malevolent, they are generally perceived as harmful due to the illnesses that they are known to inflict upon humans when disturbed. Bantoanon's cautious disposition towards tawo is thus carried over to their perception of palhi. Rather than merely seeing Palhi as places inhabited by spirits, Bantoanons think of Palhi as dangerous places that need to be avoided to protect themselves from potential harm and illness. However, Palhi are not necessarily forbidden areas for humans. This restriction or taboo merely serves as a guide or reminder for humans to observe social norms in these enchanted spaces. A lot of Palhi are located in or near springs, streams, and seashores, as those are the locations that Tawo are believed to inhabit. When disturbed, creatures there like the agta can pinch humans and inflict boils. The illnesses are not limited to boils either. They can be in the form of stomach aches, fevers, and in some extreme cases, death. Some illnesses are said to be so mysterious that even experts are unable to diagnose and explain the cause of the illness. One of my informants, Maya, shared her personal experience with Palhi-induced illness. Born and raised in Banton, Maya grew up in the countryside with her lola or grandmother. A Palhi was said to be in the pond near their house, so whenever Maya felt sick after playing outside as a child, her lola would bring her and an egg to a manggagamot. The manggagamot would then pray over the egg and crack it in some water, since manggagamot in Banton possess the special ability to diagnose illnesses by reading the form of the cracked egg. If the manggagamot reads that Maya's illness is a result of disturbing tawo in a palhi, she is instructed to go back to the palhi with an offering. She said that she usually felt better after completing the ritual process. Her experience demonstrates how important the knowledge of palhi is, not just in identifying which areas to avoid, but also in knowing which places to go to when sick. Palhi thus fills a crucial role in the practice of folk medicine in Banton, as it facilitates the rituals necessary for Bantoanons' well-being, both physically and spiritually. Meanwhile, for fisherfolk who navigate the sea frequently, palhi takes on a different set of meanings that are particularly relevant in fishing. For example, areas where accidents like drowning frequently occur are labeled as palhi. Another fisherman also talked about a palhi area where unusually large quantities of fish are said to occasionally appear to fishers. Despite the excitement that this may bring, fishers are expected to stay calm and to remain silent while catching the fish, as reacting out loud would cause the fish to turn into stone. Palhi in this case can denote the enchanted aspect of the area, but can also pertain to the restriction on how humans should act or react in nature. Places with trees and fungi can also be considered as palhi. One species frequently associated with palhi is the balete or strangler fig. The balete is characterized by its convoluted network of roots wrapped around its trunk. This gives the balete an eerie look and atmosphere. Hence, Bantoanons are cautious whenever they are near a balete. They also make sure to warn others who might find themselves near it, such as in the following phrase. This phrase also mentions the practice of patabe from the word tabe or to move aside. This is not just observed near balete, but in all places where one might suspect the presence of tawo. People must say tabi-tabi or tabi po to politely inform the unseen tawo of human presence so that they will not be disturbed or disrespected. Other trees may also be tagged as palhi once people report supernatural experiences. For example, if someone cuts down a tree for wood and becomes sick afterwards, people attribute the illness to tawo that must have been residing in the cut down tree. Therefore, the tree and the area around it must be a palhi. A mamakoy, a brown and white mushroom species that usually grows under banana palms, may also be inhabited by small tawo like the agta. This Asi quatrain illustrates the dynamic between the agta and the amamakoy. This stanza also shows how ubiquitous the tawo are, that even in a tiny mushroom on a banana trunk, an agta can be found seeking shelter from the rain. Larger places like rock formations are also considered palhi by Bantoanons. An example of this is a unique rock arc called pasilagon, which comes from the Asi word silag, which means to penetrate something with light. Protruding from the edge of the island, this rock arc forms a distinctive hole, making Pasilagon easily identifiable even from afar. Pasilagon is well known in Banton due to its connections with the Bantoanon legend of Lolo Amang. Lolo Amang is a half-human, half-encanto that is said to own a golden ghost ship, similar to the Flying Dutchman. During Lolo Amang's visits to Banton, he uses Pasilagon's hole as the anchorage of his golden ship. When Lolo Amang is not in Banton, he's said to roam around the seas and islands of Romblon province. This Asi quatrain describes one of his routes. The verse talks about the Cantingas River in Sibuyan Island. The shallow river is believed to be enchanted since a huge vessel like Lolo Amang's golden ship is able to sail through it despite its seeming impossibility. This folk story shows that the Asi concept of Palhi extends beyond Banton's borders and includes other islands as well. Another palhi outside of Banton is Mount Kayatong or Kalatong, located along the southern edge of Tablas Island. This mountain, known to be uninhabited by humans, is filled with stories that describe it as a home of Encanto. For example, whenever Bantoanons sail near Kayatong close enough to see its geography in detail, they are perplexed by the absence of fallen leaves and fruits on the mountain's tree areas. Its perpetually spotless state, despite having no human inhabitants, has convinced Bantoanons that there must be some unseen entities in Kayatong and maintaining its cleanliness. This Asi quatrain even calls it the center and capital of Encantos. The interesting thing that I've observed from the stories of Pasilagon, Cantingas, and Kalatong is how Encanto, like Lolo Amang, can also be transient. They can move to different areas, subsequently turning those areas into enchanted palhi. This notion of palhi, unbounded by Banton's geography, seems to be deeply entwined with Bantoanon's seafaring culture. The fact that Lolo Amang's mode of transportation is a vapor or ship exhibits the centrality of maritime navigation in Bantoanon folklore. I've also noticed that most of the stories and descriptions of these palhi come from the perspective of someone from the sea, perhaps in a baroto or boat or a vapor like Lolo Amang. This suggests that understanding these folk stories require experience or familiarity with maritime navigation. Going back to Banton Island, another notable palhi lies in the Goyangan Hill. Goyangan, which comes from the word guyang or old, is believed to be the home of Bantoanons' ancestors in the past and perhaps until now in the form of Tawo. Situated within that enchanted hill is the Goyangan Cave System, a network of limestone caves where several notable archaeological artifacts have been discovered. In fact, the Cave System was declared by the National Museum of the Philippines as an important cultural property in 2013, which Bantoanons take pride in. However, a lot of Bantoanons actually haven't been to Goyangan in fear of disturbing the encanto there. While the entire area of Goyangan is a palhi, its center, called Bayungos, is considered the most palhi. Bayungos has a breathtaking view of huge rocks, trees, and countless varieties of plant species that even local Bantoanons cannot identify. Bayungos is also believed to be a palace of Encanto. Thus, people are expected to say tabi-tabi to gain the goodwill of the Encanto. They are also discouraged from pointing their fingers anywhere. The sentence below is an example of such a warning. In case a person mistakenly points while in a palhi, they must bite the tip of their pointing finger to negate the curse that might have been inflicted upon them by the Encanto. I was actually able to visit the Guyangan back in 2013. Those are my fellow field schoolers in the picture. And apart from saying tabi-tabi and avoiding to point our fingers anywhere, we were also told by locals to bring slices of ginger in our pockets to ward off evil spirits. We were also told to ignore a white monkey in the forest since it's said that the monkey is actually a spirit that can give humans monkey-like behavior when disturbed. Although most Palhi are located in natural areas far from human settlements, anthropogenic environments with roads, houses, and other man-made structures can also be Palhi. For example, one habal or motorcycle rider shared with me that he had a personal encounter with a tawo while driving alone one night. After dropping off a passenger in a different barangay, he had to drive back home alone. While driving, he noticed a strange jolt at his back, as if his habal suddenly gained a significant amount of weight. Confused, he looked at his habal's side mirror and there he saw a female figure sitting right behind him. He refused to stop his habal, scared that something worse would happen to him in the dark. The uninvited passenger vanished along the way, and he fortunately arrived home safely. However, he vowed never to drive alone at night again in fear of having another encounter with the enchanted hitchhiker. Many habal riders in Banton also reported to have experienced similar encounters with the hitchhiking tawo. I took this picture here when I rode a habal one time at night, and as you can see, there aren't a lot of light sources in the roads, so it can get really scary at night. Thankfully, we didn't encounter any strange hitchhikers during our trip. Bantuanons also consider abandoned houses as palhi. This suggests that Tawo can also be present in human settlements but still tend to inhabit places where they are not disturbed, such as abandoned houses. In sum, the concept of Palhi comes from a cultural worldview that believes in the presence of unseen and powerful beings in Bantuanon's environment. Although invisible, these beings have a close relationship with humans. Hence, this dynamic necessitates social rules, restrictions, and rituals among humans to propitiate the Tawo in Palhi areas. Moreover, although it might look like Bantuanons only avoid Palhi to protect themselves from harm, they also expressed having genuine respect for other entities in their environment, especially since they consider some Tawo as their ancestors. The concept of Palhi thus exhibits Bantuanon's desire to establish a harmonious world involving the human and more than human realms. Palhi as a concept and as a word also necessitates and facilitates socialization. For instance, the knowledge of Palhi is usually taught by parents and grandparents to the youth, and often through warnings, such as when elders tell kids not to play in certain areas to avoid dangers. But even among adults, Palhi is still used as a warning to avoid dangerous places or to remind others of social norms in Palhi areas. Furthermore, Bantuanons can also validate their supernatural experiences via conversations with peers. Through the telling and retelling of experiences in certain places, they get to learn about Palhi areas and even decide whether new places must be considered Palhi. This social aspect of Palhi shows that, while it is a word loaded with dangerous ideas and stories, it is often articulated with notions of care and concern for others in the Asi language. Lastly, locating Palhi is not just a matter of identifying which places are inhabited by the Encanto and Tawo. It also entails looking into Palhi's different meanings and stories, tracing its changes, and envisioning how it can be used to suit the needs of Bantoanons. Due to its cultural power to regulate people's behavior in critical areas of nature, such as in people's mobility or in the gathering of resources like fish and lumber, Palhi has huge potential roles for environmental conservation. This can be extended to include the preservation of archaeological sites and artifacts that have yet to be discovered and studied. In this way, perhaps the concept of palhi, which has historically been associated with avoidance, can be an instrumental concept to approach rather than to avoid in further understanding Bantoanon history and culture. That would be all. Thank you.